So I found this little piece online. It has some hooks, it has a bench, a little place to store something in here.
Now, what'd this cost?
This is $250.
It's actually a pretty nice piece. But as I'm looking at it, I'm thinking to myself, well, you know, maybe I don't want something that's black. Maybe this isn't the right size. It won't fit next to my back door.
A little bigger, a little different look, whatever. So today I'm going to show you how to build a piece, and you can customize it any way you want.
Awesome, I love that idea. How do we get started?
We got to go get some material. All right, I want to get some plywood. Now I want a plywood that's going to stay flat, but also will stain or paint up nicely.
Okay.
And for that I want to use this right here. This is actually cabinet grade birch plywood. And you see how nice and flat it is? This is a birch veneer on top, so it'll stain or paint up really nice. Why don't we get a sheet of 3/4 and a sheet of 1/2 inch. All right, so now I want to get some wood to trim it, make some stiles and rails. So let's get some poplar, 1x8. All right, that should be plenty of that. I'll get a couple of long pieces of 1x3 here. Probably get about 3 or 4 pieces of this. Here's a couple good ones. I think the last piece we need is a piece of crown molding for the top. Now I only need about 6 feet. You want to cut it?
Sure. Okay, Tommy, that's the last of the lumber, and I brought up the baskets that you picked out.
Okay, great. Now I thought it would be a lot easier if we build our cabinet without a top that lifts up. We could use a couple of baskets to store things in.
Okay.
All right. Now, the baskets will also determine the size of our cabinet. The 2 baskets will slide into these openings right here.
Yeah.
We'll build the back out of plywood and the box out of plywood. To dress the plywood up, we'll do a stile and a rail system, and we'll apply it right to the plywood.
And then what have you got up top there?
Up top, I've got a shelf with a crown molding under it and a bunch of hooks to hang things on.
Nice. All right, how do we get started?
It starts by cutting the plywood. I'll rip the plywood on my table saw, and then I'll cut the pieces to length using my track saw. All right, all of the plywood is cut for our box, and we'll assemble that later. But what I like to do is I like to start with the back. And the first thing I did is I made a pencil sketch of what it's going to look like. We have 2 panels with stiles and rails. Our top rail will be a 1x8, our bottom rail will be a 1x4, and our stiles will be 1x3.
2 panels, almost like a door, 2-panel door.
Right. So now's a good time to look at it and think if we want to make any changes. Maybe we want to do 3 panels. Maybe we want to put an intermittent rail on it, something like that. But actually, I kind of like it with 2 panels. What do you think?
I kind of like it with 2 panels too. That looks good to me.
All right. So now we have it drawn out. We know what to cut. We can start making our cuts.
All right, Tommy, all the stiles and rails cut, and they actually lay out pretty nice. What are you thinking? Maybe some face nails, a little glue to the plywood?
Well, we could do that, but I actually have another way to do it. I want to use pocket screws. So we're going to drill some holes for the pocket screws using this drill and this jig. And on the end of the drill, you notice there's a different size tip, and that actually makes a pilot hole. The jig stops the drill at the right depth, making a slot for the screw also. All right, I transferred the lines on the plywood to the side of my stile. Now I'll just put the 2 pieces together, putting my rail on the line, line it up, clamp it, and I'm going to use these pocket screws right here, right into the hole, to hold the 2 pieces together. We're going to glue the plywood to the back of the stiles and the rails.
It's a nice fit.
All right, now I'm just going to tack it in place with some 1-inch screws. All right, let's flip it over, see what it looks like. All right,
It's
pretty
nice.
good. Now, we could leave it like this with a nice crisp edge, but I want to add a little detail right here to make it look like there's a molding applied. To do that, we're going to use our router. All right, now that's just a little quarter round step beaded detail that really makes a difference.
Boy, it sure does. That looks great.
All right, now this is the center divider for our box at the bottom. I put a little notch at the top and at the bottom so it will fit over our rails and our stile like that.
Okay.
Now that's going to be positioned there. Our bottom will go under this like that, and we're going to screw this box together. Now the first thing I did is I put some lines on the bottom where I want to pre-drill some holes so we can screw this together. So I'll drill some holes here and on each end. All right, now we're going to screw into the plywood on the side, so I like to pre-drill that also so we don't split it. And we're going to screw it all together using 2.5-inch screws. Now we're going to attach the bottom by screwing it through the back. All right, now to dress up the box and hide the end grain of the plywood, we're going to build a face frame just like we did at the top. We have our stile right here, same width as the top. We'll keep it even on the bottom. And our rail will keep even with the bottom edge of the box. And now I want to make the bottom of this look like a leg. So what I want to do is I want to put a little detail right in there. And to do that, I'm just going to take a paper cup. I'm going to hold it even with the bottom rail. I draw a little line, just like that. I trace that same radius on all of my legs. All right, here's what the leg's going to look like on the front of the lower unit. But I want the leg to look like it was cut from a solid block of wood. To do that, I've cut another part of the leg 3/4 of an inch thinner than the front. When I put them all together, the dimension on the front and the side matches.
And then we just put these two together with some glue and some nails, and then we can build this face frame?
Exactly. Now I want to hold it even on the top and make the legs even on the bottom. Okay, now I'm going to put a tack in it. Now I want to finish off this inside edge with that beaded detail. Now we attach these two filler strips right here. We nailed them and glued them to the top of our box. And now this is the top right here. And the next thing I want to do is wrap around the perimeter with this 1.5-inch wide poplar. That's going to do two things. It's going to hide the end grain of the plywood, and it's going to give the top a thicker look. Now all we want to do is nail it and glue it in place. Now just put a couple of nails on each end. At the top, we'll install mitered crown molding with a flat shelf. We're going to use a headless nail. Okay, now we'll put it on our shelf. You on your line?
I am.
Okay, I'm going to tack the middle. Ready? Okay, now let me tack it.
Flush.
There you go. Ready? All right, now I want to put a couple of longer nails right down through the top. Now all we got to do is either paint it or stain it.
Oh, that is good looking. You know what? I guess you could buy one from the store, but why would you when it looks this nice, custom made?
I agree.
This is gonna look great in my mudroom, Tommy. Thanks.
Your mudroom?
Yeah.
Oh, no, pal. It's going in my mudroom.